friends, I am back with project number 3, and this is part of my Under My Umbrella Stampin Blends class. This was my in-person class that I had scheduled, and of course with everything going on in the world I had to cancel it. So I've been putting together video tutorials of each project. There's 4 in total with this class, so that the gals who registered can see how everything comes together, but I thought I would offer it as a free class to everybody to enjoy. Now, everyone who purchased the class from me has received Under My Umbrella bundle, which is the stamp set and the coordinating punch, and also all of the cardstock pre-cut for each project. So what I'm going to do is show a technique on using Stampin' Blends with Vellum. Now this is something I just came up with. I haven't seen anyone else do it, not to say no one else has come up with this idea, but it's something fun that I discovered when I was playing with my Stampin' Blends and my Vellum. So it's very, very simple. I'm going to bring in some of my Stampin' Blends. So these are the colors that I'm going to be using. I have they're all in the darks. So I have the dark cherry cobbler, old olive, daffodil delight, Bermuda bay, and rich razzleberry. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my cherry cobbler, and I'm just going to scribble right onto the corner, and you're just going to work in a small section at a time, and then have a paper towel handy and just rub that ink right into the vellum. Do another one here. And you don't have to go in circles, you can go on like that. There's no right or wrong with this. It was just a fun way to make a beautiful background for projects, and I thought I would include this in the class because it's quick, and sometimes we need really quick designs, but it's another great way to use our Stampin' Blend alcohol markers. Okay, so that's good for the cherry cobbler. Now I'm going to take my dark daffodil delight and do the same thing, and when you're putting the color down and it overlaps a little bit onto previous colors, it moves that previous color around a bit, which is really cool because it means that you're not going to have any really intense lines where the two colors meet. They all blend in together very, very nice. Maybe a bit more over here. So I'm actually going right on top of some of that cherry cobbler, just kind of moving some of that yellow into it. So the shapes and the design is going to shift and move a little bit, which is pretty fun. Now I'm going in with my old olive. Maybe a little bit down here. I'm going to go in next with my rich razzleberry. So you see I'm just kind of going on top some of those colors because again that alcohol ink will move the previous color around a little bit. Do a little bit right here. My last color is the dark Bermuda bay, so I'm going to use this to fill in any empty spots and also to go over on some of the colors where I want to pull in some of that blue. Now this may not look like a whole lot at the moment, but it makes a beautiful background that you can use in your card making, your scrapbooking, your junk journals. It's a really easy, fast technique, which sometimes I think we can all appreciate that. I love how this blue pops on this technique. I'm going to put a little bit of blue down here. See how it just kind of moved some of that cherry cobbler as if it was never even there. And maybe a little bit right here, and I think that's good. No, I'm going to put a little bit down here just because I want to have a little bit of blue on all the edges because I'm not sure how this is all going to be cut up and used. That's probably good. Okay, now look what happens when I put this behind a piece of Whisper White. Look at how gorgeous that is. I mean, you could emboss in gold or silver on there. You can do so much with this. But for this technique, I'm going to trim this down. I want this to measure 2 3/4 by 4. So I could use this piece for another card, another project. And now what you do is you take your liquid glue and you put that on a piece of Whisper White. Now this is cut the same size as that vellum. It's 2 3/4 by 4. So I'm just making sure I get the corners. And then I'm going to take my vellum and glue it right on top. Isn't that a fun background? So now I'm going to stamp on this. Now the first stamp I'm going to use is the flowers right here. So I'm just going to put that on my block. I'm going to stamp it with Memento. I'm going to stamp it right down like so. Now you have to watch because I'm using vellum paper. That's going to take a minute to dry. So I'm just going to zap that with the heat tool for a second. I am going to need a mask for that flower. So I'm going to ink this again. I've got my post-it notes here and I'm just going to stamp that down. And I'm just putting it behind some computer paper just because of that sticky layer. And in my previous video, when you're cutting out masks, just put them in a clear envelope and then store them in the corresponding stamp set, and then you don't have to keep cutting them out and you've got them. And this one doesn't want to come apart, so let me grab my tool. Now I can actually get 2 masks out of this because I have that white there, and what I would do to make the white sticky is put some of our liquid glue on there and set it aside to dry. You only need a little bit and then it becomes tacky and repositionable. So you see here I've got my little bag of masks, and then I'm just going to tuck this in here. So I'm going to put this over those flowers just like so. Take my umbrella and I'm going to stamp right on top of that mask, just like that. And while I have the flowers down there, I'm going to stamp the handle from the umbrella. I'm going to carefully remove the mask because, again, with it being Memento ink, it's not going to be completely dry. So I'm going to zap it with the heat tool again. But see how it looks like the flowers are coming outside of the umbrella. Put that mask back in. Put that mask back down. And I'm going to stamp over that mask. Going to zap this again with the heat tool, and again it's because I'm using Memento ink on the vellum, it's not going to dry right away. Now you can use StazOn, as I demonstrated in my previous video. StazOn and photopolymer don't normally work well together. You just have to make sure you've got lots of ink on your StazOn ink pad and clean the stamps right away afterwards, but I'm just using the Memento. And I'm going to put my umbrella mask down now. And now I'm taking this one right here and I'm going to stamp that right on top. So it looks like an umbrella full of flowers. And for my sentiment, I'm just going to stamp Hello Sunshine. Now it's time to color in the flowers. So I'm going to take my dark cherry cobbler and just color away. Daffodil Delight. Dark Bermuda Bay. And now I'm using my Rich Razzleberry. What's left now is the green. So I'm just taking my dark Old Olive and I'm going to color in all the leaves. I could leave the umbrella like that, but I am going to go ahead and color it. And to do that, I'm going to color with my dark Pool Party. And I'm just going to go on my scratch paper for any of the ink that it picks up. And it's kind of cool how it takes the colors underneath it and erases them. I'm just working in little sections at a time. And you can see how it moves that ink. And I'm just turning the paper around. How cool is that? I think that's pretty cool, I must say. So now this is ready to go on the card. And I already have the card put together. So the card base is Lovely Lipstick, and then the next card layer is Pretty Pink, and then I have Whisper White that I ran through the Parisian Flourish embossing folder so I get some texture and a nice design around the edge, and then another layer of the Lovely Lipstick, and this is going to go right on top of that. Finish the card, I'm just taking some tiny rhinestones to put in the center of these flowers. Just the 3 big ones. I didn't want to add a whole lot of ribbon or anything because I wanted that beautiful background to show through. And then I'm just putting a piece of computer paper on the inside of my card, and there it is. Isn't that fun? What a neat technique. I love how that pool party comes through. So here's another one I made earlier. This time I left the umbrella without coloring it, and I did add a little bit of white baker's twine, and then I stamped a different sentiment on it. And you can tell, you know, exactly the same card layout, exactly the same technique, but look at the different looks that they both have. You're always going to get a different background, of course, using those stamping blends, but it's just so beautiful. So I did go ahead and emboss gold on this background. I had to try it, and I think it turned out really, really pretty. And the other thing I did is I took my clear wink of Stella. Hopefully the camera can pick it up, but I colored the umbrella and the boots with a wash of that clear wink of Stella, so I get that pretty shimmery look. So I think the gold is really stunning. So I hope you have a lot of fun with this technique and give it a try. Happy stamping!